Welcome everyone to the latest community update call. My name is Adnan and I'm joined by Christoph. We're both co-founders in the ThreeFold Foundation and we're helping to drive the build of our new internet, a better internet for the world. Lots of updates to cover today. We promise to try and keep it short and sweet. So without further ado, let's rock and roll.
Welcome everyone. Allow me to start with something which is really important to us, which are our values. We started doing this a long time ago now. We started really like more than 10 years ago, and little bit by little bit, we have been building this technology. And I think it's always important to reiterate what's important to us. We want to build a better internet. And when we say a better internet, what does that mean? Today we have an internet, it connects a lot of people, and it's actually a great tool. But today you might know that less than 20 companies in the world own the majority of this internet. So we want to have an internet which is a little bit different, an internet which is co-owned by all of us, an internet which is made to allow us to talk to each other in a very positive way. We want to have tokens behind which are not just speculation, but they have a certain economic interest and link to that internet. We don't just want to be hype, we want to do first before we actually talk. We want to be transparent. We want to be focused on long-term growth. And more than anything, we want this internet to be as decentralized as possible. I think probably even a better term than decentralization is peer-to-peer. So we want all what we call farmers, so everyone contributing to this internet, connecting their boxes, and in such a way we build a true peer-to-peer new internet.
To build on that mission to build a new internet, these are the three sort of main area or components that make it better. And that is the fact that it's peer-to-peer, which Christoph touched upon, which is owned by all of us. It's a collaborative economy. The second is that it's alive. It's not managed by people or owned by an individual or run by people. So you can keep that neutrality through the autonomous nature of which it's run, as well as by the fact that it's driven by self-healing system administrators to make sure these workloads can really go to the furthest reaches of emerging markets. And then finally, the sustainability. Not only from a power perspective can we do multiple of factors to lower the energy impact on the planet, but it also is sustainable in the way it respects human privacy and data ownership, protecting us from future technologies that might take advantage of that. So just to quickly touch up again, I think a lot of us know this, there's an immense hole in the world of the data sphere, or where our data and storage and our resources that we need to build all the tools we have. A lot of us know all the application layers, but below that, there needs to be a tremendous amounts of infrastructure to be able to hold that. And the world of data centers are having a really tough time to keep up with that growth. And what our peer-to-peer internet does is resolve that gap. It helps to give the internet a place to grow and do it in a way that's scalable and responsible to humanity. Today, now, I think through our journey of 2 years, we're proud to say we're the world's largest peer-to-peer capacity network. And this is quite a bold statement considering we haven't done any kind of ICO in the past, and we've done this through our friends and family and our collaboration through farmers around the world. And we can very confidently say that we have such a wonderful, the largest autonomous internet capacity or decentralized internet capacity that's self-managing on the planet, with 40 million gigabytes of storage, 15,000 CPU cores, in over 60 locations and 20 countries. I think one of the most important things that in terms of what we are and where we're positioned, I think something important to touch on is the fact that we are the bridge between the cloud and the blockchain world. The cloud world needs to scale and needs to be able to grow its resources, and the blockchain world, with all the wonderful smart contracts and consensus mechanisms, needs a way to be able to scale as well, and they both have found a limitation. And what we are positioned as is that universal layer to help both these worlds sit on top of the resources that they need. And that is what the ThreeFold network is. So just to give you a bit more specifics, we're integrated with things like Docker, S3, and Kubernetes. And these are things that developers use primarily to run different kinds of workloads. And this makes us very compatible with the rest of the world, and as well as drive adoption onto our network. Maybe I'll pass this one to you.
So there are two parts to this, three parts actually to this network. One is the grid, which is the IT capacity. You can compare this like having solar panels on your roof, delivering the energy for your neighborhood. In the same way, our farmers connect boxes to this internet, to the existing internet actually, and that way they can provide capacity to the people who need it. And this is what we call the threefold grid. So it's IT capacity as delivered by many nodes by the farmers in a peer-to-peer fashion. On top of this, we have another layer, and that's the layer which we call the digital twin layer, the ThreeBot. So one of the other things we want to do is that every one of us gets like a digital twin. It's like an avatar running on this capacity. And this avatar allows you to run your digital life. Today, this avatar is only used to be your virtual system administrator. So through your avatar, you can instruct the grid to bring IT workloads live. That could be a blockchain or some website or a CRM system or anything actually. And you can ask your ThreeBot to do so. To do that, we developed three components. We have our operating system, which is a truly unique operating system. It's very different than the operating system you run on your Mac or on Windows. It's something much more light, close to the hardware. It's very efficient. And that's where the efficiency comes from. So for storage, we can be up to 10 times more efficient. For blockchain, up to 100 times more efficient. And for these digital avatar workloads, even more. And that mainly comes from the operating system. This operating system is very low level, and it gives you all the required energy if you want to run these workloads on top of. We had to restart from scratch. The only thing we maintained was the Linux kernel from which we developed everything else. The second system we've developed is our Zero People. So Zero People is our autonomous IT system. Think about it like self-driving cars. But of course, it's not a car in our case. It's a system which allows you to run any workload on top of these Zero S's, which run completely by itself. As a consequence, it's much harder for a hacker to get into it. It will be much more safe, it will have more uptime, and of course also the total cost of ownership will be lower. Now, the third thing is our zero chain, which is basically our own blockchain technology. You can think about it like a smart contract for IT. So through the zero chain, you can put your information, your smart contract for IT actually, and then the Zero S's will pick it up and they will make it reality. So where are we today? The capacity layer is our first layer, is out there for a while now, more than a year, and we're launching our second generation of it. Our Zero People layer we're still working on. We have sort of a working prototype, but we're moving forward rather fast.
I think if you bring all this together, we see what we have is basically a global internet economy where we have the capacity and all these technology layers and the tokens working in tandem to be able to allow developers and farmers around the world to be able to exchange services to build a new internet that is truly peer-to-peer and respectful of digital privacy and digital data ownership. And this is what the world is moving towards today. And that capacity needs to also be of quality for people to be able to rely on building these applications. So what the three technology layers that Christoph mentioned allows that to be reliable enough so that it is beyond data center quality grade and allows people as developers to be able to rely on that infrastructure to be able to build the new tools of tomorrow. I think from a positioning perspective, again, we touched upon this a little bit, but where we are is we are this autonomous IT. And this is what makes us unique and what allows us to scale the internet to a new sort of level. And where we can see sort of the variances in terms of limitations of certain centralized IT models, we see that it's not decentralized, it's not able to be sustainable because a lot of these big data center repositories take a lot of energy and they won't be able to grow fast enough to meet the demand. Although they're versatile and reliable, they just can't meet the demand growth. On the blockchain side of things, there are some very, very cool projects in trying to decentralize their solutions, but they're having difficult times with the architecture, the nodes that power them. How do you keep that from being sort of not being non-neutral? And also there's also limitations of sustainability, as we can see from multiple blockchain projects that consume a lot of power. So where autonomous IT fits in is being able to solve the issues with the architecture or the infrastructure of the internet through use of software. And this is what powers the threefold network and allows us to be that missing layer for both the cloud world and the blockchain world.
Yeah, maybe we should not go too much into detail here, but actually, like Adnan said, we are not competing with any blockchain. In fact, the opposite. We want to help them. We want to give them a new layer of capacity on top of which they can put their blockchains. Now, if they would run their blockchain workloads or any other workload for that matter, you would get certain benefits to do with performance, response times, security, privacy, feature set, and so on. If you want to know more, I suggest you join us in one of the technology sessions and you can learn more. What we're doing here is just giving a sort of intro so we can get to the update of what we are doing and walk you through that one.
Maybe a little bit about why our network might be very attractive to developers as well as for farmers. The opportunity in the sort of the cost efficiency and effectivity of our network is shown through the cost that we can achieve. A farmer can basically achieve in this scenario up to 4 times benefit compared to the next market competitor, and this allows a farmer to really provide IT capacity at such competitive rates to really then drive adoption by developers who will get those capacity units at a better rate and also more reliable.
These are just examples, of course, you can find them online, but in general, big thanks to our technology, we can be very efficient. Okay,
maybe I'll pass this one to you for the continuous roadmap.
So I think that's just to give you some, we're coming from a long time back, and to sort of tell you what we already achieved over the last couple of years, we have this slide. Now, one of the things which is important to us is that we want to, instead of talking, we want to act first. So in March 2018, we basically launched the first grid, which was our 1.x version, and we launched our token. So at that time, we had the ThreeFold token active on our own blockchain called Divine. In August, we kind of had a partnership with HPE started, and since then, we have a close partnering with HPE, who are helping us to put hardware into the field, sell it through distribution channels, and we're going to do much more with them in the future. In November, it's an estimate, but we think at that time, 2018, we had more capacity live than the sum of all the blockchain projects, infrastructure blockchain projects. 2019, we launched in April the grid 1.0 on testnet. So now everyone can play with it. So in 2018, it was just internal, the grid. But in 2019, we made it publicly usable by people who wanted to play with it on the testnet. You could put workloads on there, but you had to pay with our testnet tokens, actually. That's the 1.x version. It was compatible with Docker. You had S3. You could do all kinds of things. In November 2019, we did an early adopter launch of our grid 2.0, which is a major upgrade where we have a new network infrastructure. We added Kubernetes to it, which is being added now as we speak. That was not there in November. Lots of things happened, like seamless updates, no need to reinstall. Lots of new things have been added. February, in a couple of weeks actually, we're launching in a public way our grid 2.0. We have certified and non-certified farmers, but we're starting first with some certified farmers where we will roll out our new payment mechanism. We'll talk more about it later, but actually we will be using the Stellar network as well. So we're rolling out a new grid 2.0 where certified farmers will also support new features like Kubernetes, and it will be, it's a quite exciting release for us. It's a 2.0 release. By April, we want to have upgraded all the farmers because this will have to go step by step. We have a lot of capacity out there, and the idea is that by April, we'll have phased out our 0S 1.x, and we will be on the 2.x for the world.
And this is obviously all comes in wonderfully to be able to talk a little bit about the ThreeFold token, which is at the center of all of this. It is the medium of exchange to be able to buy this internet capacity. And with that capacity going into function in February, it's a tremendous sort of boost to the ecosystem behind the token. And to talk a little bit more about it very briefly, it's really based on a solid model. It's based on the internet demand for the internet economy. And basically, with the way we have the token generation is done in a way that it's proof of capacity. It's tied when active capacity is added to the network. Our network determines that you have brought some active capacity of memory, storage, and compute, and rewards farmers in ThreeFold tokens. So the ThreeFold token is an intrinsic part of the whole process. It helps secure the contracts between farmers and developers to ensure the security of a transaction between them. And more importantly, it allows it to be inclusive, because in areas of emerging markets where currency fluctuations are not quite strong, not quite stable, the ThreeFold token will allow our internet network to be inclusive and accessible by all. Moving forward, we have some interesting things to talk about the launch, but we won't talk too much about it. We're still doing a big launch, but the parameters around that launch are changing. We'll talk a little bit about that later. I don't want to give away too much. More info in the tactics section that we'll cover a little bit later. And then something that we will also address is our security token offering that we'll do hopefully later towards the end of the year, depending on the legal work behind it. It is a security token offering to help drive the adoption of capacity in emerging countries using a regulated structure. We're working right now and discussing with various financial partners to see how we can put that together. This is a massive endeavor, and it also will help drive the adoption of the ThreeFold network and boost the overall economy as a whole. We'll talk a little bit more about that in detail when we have gone a little bit further. I think something I can also touch a little bit about is our partnerships, and thank you to all our partners around the world who have jumped in and become our core supporters. And there are not small players in the market. A lot of them are from various walks of life. We have the Hewlett Packard Enterprises, a multi-billion-dollar company, has really supported us in helping to roll out and certify capacity on our network to help create reliable farming equipment for people to participate in the ThreeFold network. This is a huge stamp of approval. We have companies like Cleos who are trying to drive the next generation 5G and hopefully create the last mile mesh network to connect people in emerging markets that really need that internet capacity at the fingertips. And multiple wonderful organizations like Solidaridad, helping farmers, and Take Action Global, helping communities around the world from an education perspective. And then finally, FlowGen, who are helping to build decentralized energy grids. And there's much, much more that we couldn't fit into one slide, but we just want to say thank you to all of them. And this is the kind of solidarity that we need behind the network to show people that this is a much more mature technology and blockchain project going forward. Which brings us to the new tactics section.
Okay, maybe the next slide. So what I would like to talk about before we start into the tactics. So now we talked more, who are we? Why do we exist? We reiterated on the values. I think we made a lot of progress in the last couple of years. And always when you do something like this, there is a certain mission. And in our case, the mission is to build this peer-to-peer affordable internet for a lot of people by 2030. And this, sometimes I make the comparison with the mountain and the sea. So if we are on the top of that mountain, we're looking out the vision to the sea, and the sea would be the mission in this case. And then of course, as we go, you go into steps, right? It's not like you go in one straight line from your vision to your mission. No, you basically go down, you have your friends, you build a group, and you fight your way through the jungle, and you go from left to right. And this is a constant reiteration of what you want to do, where you want to be. And every step you make together with your peers and your friends and your partners, you come closer to the sea. Okay, where exactly we are on this path, we don't know, but we went very far already. And to us, it feels like at this point, we are in a very good position to sort of take a next step and to shoot forward. And this is really about what the main purpose is, to make our token liquid. Let's go to the next slide. So maybe, Adon, you can do this one.
Oh, sure. Thank you, brother. I was going to talk a little bit about our structure. I think it's important, especially for new members who join the community, to understand what are the dynamics and who's around the table and who's helping this, or the various organizations involved in this movement. So the ThreeFold Foundation is at the core of the ThreeFold network, which is this big, beautiful internet we're building together. And it's a non-for-profit, and it's basically, its core directive is to help drive and do good projects, basically build more capacity, build projects that really help drive impact, and it will be chaired by human blockchain to help create a decentralized consensus around how how these projects are determined and how the actual doing good projects are allocated. So this is an important step. There will be also potentially a ruling within this human blockchain on the difficulty level of the network, depending on if we need to have more or less farming. So the ThreeFold Foundation is at the core of the ThreeFold Internet movement. The ThreeFold Technology Company, this is all about autonomous IT. It's a tech company. It's focused on bringing businesses and enterprises into the sort of decentralized world through using self-healing and blockchain workloads. It focuses on individual companies and is basically a full-on tech company. What the ThreeFold Tech has done is granted the ThreeFold Network or ThreeFold Foundation the open source rights to be able to use the technology to help build this internet. We are the biggest use case of the ThreeFold Tech company, and they have supported us in that way. The Free Flow Nation is a philanthropy movement and a movement to be able to connect various other movements around the world to try and tackle some of the larger humanitarian issues in the world. And we needed a catch-all movement to do that because it is quite a big endeavor. And their core goal as Free Flow Nation is to try and deliver the entire digital life of an individual, the banks, their online experiences, the education for less than $1 per person per month. That's their big, hairy, audacious goal. And they're working with various organizations around the world to help drive at that. Where the connection between Free Flow Nation and the ThreeFold Foundation is, we are their internet arm, supporting them to meet that goal using the ThreeFold network. So I hope that's clear. If there's any questions, please jump in, drop me a message, or in the forum. I'll be happy to address that further. I think I'm going to pass the microphone to you on this one, because this is a wonderful announcement and I think it's very exciting.
Yeah, so when we started this journey, we created our own digital currency and our own blockchain. And we kind of always kept on looking around to, would there be other partners we can work with? What is the market doing? And we found this wonderful other network, which is called Stellar. Stellar is a network with people who share a lot of our values. And it's a network which is very fast. It can sustain a lot of transactions per second. And it has already a lot of partners on there. So that's why we decided to also support the Stellar network. And we are going to integrate it into our own backend. And basically this is happening as we speak. So in a couple of weeks, you will be able through Stellar to get and buy our ThreeFold token, to transact our ThreeFold token. And that's also how we will reward the ThreeFold tokens to the farmers.
Well, I don't know if you've already noticed, part of the community out there. If you have, we have a new tool. It's called ThreeBot Connect. It is where you have your wallet, your social spaces. It's your authenticator when you're using our tools on the network. And there you can access a lot of the decentralized social spaces. You can hear the latest news, talk about the grid, and post messages and interact with various community members. Please feel free to create your own spaces on there and use them as a tool to be able to interact with various members of our community and etc. So we're going to be focusing a lot on using these tools, and we're getting some fantastic feedback from that. Please let us know again your comments on there. It is a new tool and we're excited to be deploying it, and it'll start phasing out our older ThreeFold token wallets. I think this is a wonderful project because I think it speaks to all of us. It is what we're trying to do, is basically do good on the ThreeFold internet network. And the project Kakuma is one of the largest refugee camps in the world, based out of Kenya, where we are working together with Koen Timmers and organizations around the world like TAG, Maggie, and the UN to deliver digital education and platforms in 2 schools that are being deployed on the ground there, where there are hundreds of thousands of refugees that could really benefit from the availability of digitalized schooling infrastructure, etc. On top of the ThreeFold network. We're happy to be a supporter of this project, and we really look forward to seeing the success of this. It has a lot of impact and potentially has the potential to impact more than 200,000 individuals. So this is really all about what we're trying to do. It's part of our do good philosophy and values, and we hope to see more projects like this. It's an honor to be involved in this project. I think something that we have, I think also you might have noticed, is that we have some new changes to our forums and our communication tools. I'll just quickly cover this. We realized that the Telegram group was getting very busy. We received from many complaints that it was very difficult to track what was happening. A lot of people just got tired of watching the Telegram channel. So I think what we decided to do is, again, it's another tactic of pivoting and seeing where we can go and grow together as a community. One of the first things we did is we realized we needed a healthy forum for people to discuss and ask relevant questions and have those questions answered in a timely manner. And that's why we created the new ThreeFlow forum. We'll show you a screenshot of that, and I'm sure you've already seen it. If you haven't, we'll share you the link later. It's basically a place where you can post messages and questions in case you have any about any particular topic of interest in various fields. We also changed our Telegram channel to a broadcast only, where now you will only receive pertinent information from the moderators about what's happening with our project, what we are trying to do, and where we're going. And so that will still be active, but now hopefully less noisy and something that will give you your information that you need to know about what we're doing. A lot of new changes on the forum I'll cover on the next aspect, but it's all based on rules of respect, which means we do not, anonymity is not permitted on these forums. We need to know who's being involved, etc., because we want to have an open discussion, but it also needs to be based on respect. And I think that is something that's important to us, that we create a safe space for people to engage with each other in an open and respectful manner. And we've done this in accordance with our collaboration rules, which we have linked here. And we will also put this is actually linked in our forum also, so you can take a look at reading our rules and what they're all about. They follow the universal principles of Creative Commons. And basically it's all about, it's all again based on the fundamental respect and communication. Christoph, maybe if you want to add anything there, in case I missed anything.
No, we were looking for a way which makes it much more easy for everyone to help, and we can communicate with them, and we have a space where we can keep the questions, because on the chat it kind of just all passes by and it's too hard for people to follow up. So that's why we are excited that we have this forum now, which we will use to share a lot of information and allow people to add any content they want, to even become a moderator if you would like to. So this is really a tool for all of us where we together can co-create this new internet.
Very cool. And I'll touch a little bit about marketing focus. I don't want to take too much time on this because I think just to touch back on our values, we are going to be focusing more on influencer-based marketing. We're not going to be doing any airdrops or anything like that, because we want to avoid any kind of misalignment to our values. We realize we want to attract a more organic growth community, and we're going to do this by, influencer is probably one of the best ways to do it. There's a lot of reputed influencers out there that want to talk about the Threefold project. We're also using micro-influencers on Twitter and continuing to do major publications and articles around the world. And we're going to be releasing one shortly in a very large publication franchise soon. And we'll be posting that in our Telegram group as an announcement. And lots of investor events are happening, or participating events that are happening there as well. Events going around the idea of participating before we do our launch or our listing event. And we'll talk more about that a little bit later.
Good. Now we get into the meat of our presentation. So a couple of months ago, we decided that we wanted to come to liquidity, right? So the idea is that our token has been, so all our tokens have been farmed. So we never printed tokens, we never did an ICO. They're basically the result of people connecting their boxes. And we call that proof of IT capacity. Just like you have proof of work in Bitcoin, we are proof of capacity, actually. Now we want to make it easier for our farmers and our community to start using the token. And as such, it's our wish to go into some public exchanges, and there is a certain path how you can do so. One possible way is what people call IEO. And IEO stands for Initial Exchange Offering. We were using that name because there is a lot of marketing value around that. But as we go, we sort of felt that maybe this is not the right thing, because actually we are not an IEO. An IEO is Initial Exchange Offering, but we are already there for almost 2 years. So we are for sure not initial, and we're not creating these tokens. So in a way, we are not an IEO. That's why we sort of decided that we will no longer use that term IEO, but we're going to call it a TLE, a token listing event. So as you know, our token is a proof of IT capacity. We're working and organizing this token listing event. Originally, we were thinking about doing this event 10th of February, but we did a call a week ago with our token holders community. We were 60 people on that call, and 89% of the people on that call decided that it was better to delay a little bit. We're working on certain elements around marketing. We want to launch the grids. We're working with some financial partners, as we'll discuss in the next slide. But actually, there are certain things we want to continue before we do that launch. So basically, the launch will be a public sale of Threefold tokens at the launch, and this will happen through exchanges, public exchanges. One of them is already there, it's just liquid, and we will be adding more to basically bring this token into markets. It will be controlled release of tokens. So we have a lot of farmers already. We are talking with them. That's why you have the little star. So we're talking with them to basically make it a controlled release of tokens which have already been farmed before 2020. We're still defining exactly how to do this, but it looks like that existing farmers will be able to, if they would like to, they would be able to sell their tokens through market makers to make sure that there is no downward pressure on the price, which is very good for people who would like to buy that token during this launch event. Our values and decentralization stays the most important part. That's why there is no printing of tokens. Actually, Adnan and myself, we are decentralized. We're just here at the service of the community. And there are lots of people around us. We have a large group of ambassadors. There are many people who, just like us, want to help this project and are all out of their own perspective trying to make this happen. So we want to keep this decentralization as important as it is today. Another thing we're doing today is we are thinking about the tokenomics. Tokenomics is like the economics of the token. We have a very good token today. We are together with some partners thinking about, okay, is this the right tokenomics? Do we need to make small changes or not? So we got some nice tips from them of what we can do. And that brings me to the next slide, which is actually, if you want to do a token launch, it's good to have some strong financial partners, which we have. We cannot publicly mention their name yet because we're still sort of in the last phases of negotiation and we need to sign a contract. But actually, we are working together with a strong, reputable financial partner. And together with them, because they have much more knowledge in how something like this needs to be done than us. So they will do market making, which basically means that they will provide liquidity and make sure that if there is a seller, there is a buyer, and it becomes all much more smooth. They will give us access to more public exchanges. They will give us access to investors who would like to support this launch, and they will work with us thinking about our tokenomics or other legal requirements or anything else which we need to do. The requirements we had for that partner, we want someone with experience, we want someone who is big enough, it needs to be a reputable partner, we want to be all in line with regulations, no shortcuts, and we want to be ready for the future. That brings me to the next slide. So what is our timing? So yes, we have a little bit of delay, but I think it's for the better good for all of us. At the end, the aim is to have this token liquid. In the meantime, we will also launch the grid. So the first step is that the grid needs this 2.0 version. This is not the first version. This 2.0 version needs to launch with Stellar integration. We're talking to influencers so we can start making more publicity about this network, because until now we have probably been the best kept secret. So this needs to change. There will also be community-driven reach out program. We have a marketing budget in ThreeFold Tokens. This marketing budget will be used by the team of the foundation to basically promote and help and sponsor people to do a positive push and a reach out and drive a reach out program. We are going out and in the meantime, it's parallel and talking to investors and people who want to help us in the token launch event. And we are, of course, working and preparing with our financial launch partners, like we discussed in the previous slide. When all of this is done, we will need about 4 weeks of solid marketing, and then we need to really ramp up. We are already start doing that marketing, but it needs to become much more. So we need more marketing, more PR, influencers, interviews. We need to do much more as we go forward towards the token launch event. Then eventually we will be on these exchanges. We have Liquid already, we have BTC Alpha, but we need more exchanges to follow. Step 5, we need to support liquidity. That's where the financial partner needs to come in to help underwrite that liquidity, but for that funding is required. And then eventually, as the last step, we will announce the security token offering. There will be a campaign for 2020. We'll go more into emerging markets. So this is more, if you want, what we need to do to keep on supporting our public token at that point. I don't think we have to go into detail here, but we will give you these slides anyhow. So we'll give you this video, and I hope you enjoyed what we have to announce. But actually there is many details underneath. If you would like to know, please contact any of us over the forum or direct messages directly, or you can also use the chat on the website. But we have a plan, we're always executing a plan, and we're very positive about the future. And we have to work on the technical track as well as on the token track. Maybe just to highlight some of the things we put into red. which is that, yeah, we need to finish the Stellar integration. We need to upgrade our network. And then, yeah, of course, around the tokens, there are still certain things we need to do.
All right, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us, I guess, in a video sense. So I hope you get to watch this. And if you have any questions, please drop us a note on the FreeFlow pages where it's posted. And in any of the forums, we're happy to get back to you and answer any questions you may have. Thank you again.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye-bye. Cool.